Yeah. So we have representatives of our education and outreach panel. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
Well, not so much a question, but something I hope maybe you can elaborate on, Will. The fact that you're going to have this stuff in Wikidata means that you could compute or at least build a query to estimate how much acreage and area the parks in these various districts. So I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how having the information in Wikidata can help people who want to know more about parks versus non-park area in Brooklyn.
That's a really good question. Sorry. That's a really good question, Bob. And now that the parks are in Wikidata, there's a lot of potential to build on that. And I know that the Parks Department they have a lot of data themselves. Like they have acreage information that's in tables that I think there's a lot of potential to, now that the parks have a start of an item, there's a potential to just fill it up.
Wow.
And one thing that's nice about Wikidata for anyone that's never used it, it's worth checking out. Just type in anything you're interested in, and it's multilingual, so it'll both show how the article is interacting in different languages, and also if you don't speak English, it will do some translating so you can interact with the site, and you don't have to speak English.
Anybody have anybody ask about education, maybe?
I wanted to ask, for the bird contest, I take photos of birds in New York. Will there be another one? Will you run another one? Or will there be a similar thing in the future where I can upload my photos? Not necessarily to a contest. I will upload some of my photos to Wikimedia. But will there be another contest, or will there be more like collaborations with bird groups in New York?
I sure hope so. There are no immediate plans. This was, so last year we did one with the Prospect Park Alliance, which was not about birds, but about pictures inside of Prospect Park, including a bird prize. And then this year, the Brooklyn Bird Club. I think it's very likely that we will do more photo contests with nature-related organizations. I would love to work with New York City Audubon. I would love to work with the Feminist Bird Club, with the Queens County Bird Club, to see what we can figure out. It is a lot of work. Like, it's time consuming to set up. It's easy for our partners, which is why it's like an easy ask to open that door. But to do it properly, like, we got to like look for copyright violations and categorize things, which is hard for newbies to do. And so, I would, if you want to help organize, then I think that would make it more likely. But yeah, I mean, I think that I would aim for myself to try to maybe organize one thing like this a year. But I'm hesitant to say that because I don't want anybody to save their photos from uploading.
Could you talk about the copyright violation stuff a little bit, because people may not know what you mean by that?
Yeah, so Ximena asked about the copyright violation. So with photo contests, we haven't had this be a big problem, but within the movement, there are occasionally problems where as soon as you introduce money to the equation, people try to find ways to get that money. And so we'll just Google a nice picture of a bird and then upload it and say it's mine in order to get that, the few bucks. So for every entry, I'm categorizing it, and then I'm also doing like a reverse Google image search to see if it pops up online. And if it does, because often that's legitimate, somebody just posts it to like Flickr before they post it to Wikipedia, then we'd have to get them to go through this process that verifies like I have the right to upload this. But we've been lucky in that it hasn't been an issue for us, but it is something that should it create a big issue, the Wikimedia and Wikipedia communities are not terribly tolerant of contests that lead to people uploading a lot of copyright violations.
Right. Thanks. I had a question about genre and writing and education. I mean, it's interesting that people, that having students work on something that's like an encyclopedia, which is not something they're usually used to working on, and sort of some ways like the museum tries to be like an encyclopedia. People are used to reading things in some ways, and sometimes there's things like the usefulness of going toward wikibooks rather than encyclopedia to use that as like as a parallel. So what do you find value outside the encyclopedia format? What does it cover? What does it not cover? Maybe it makes me want to go towards something like wikibooks.
Oh, thank you. I think that's a really great question. After we presented, Solel said, I wish we could have done a wiki book. And I'm like, we should have done a wiki book, right? Like, I think the way you presented, Dr. X, as well as your students, about the process of culling that documentation and more so centering the student, their languages and their experience, I think is really strong. I think because we had a one-day edit-a-thon, and it was for students who had never, ever cultivated entries or edits within Wikipedia. It was a really great introduction to get them to understand, who are we creating this content for? Everyone, right? But also, how do you pull sources that support your claims and find things that are credible? I hope, and I'm speaking this into existence, that we'll get an opportunity to work more with Wikimedia to do a longer and extended program where we can do a wiki book, especially because the end of this culminative project was a zine.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm like, I could totally see us having a zine for Afrofuturism on Wikibooks. So
That'd be fantastic.
we're dreaming today.
So one of the things that I couldn't show you, but there's not that many entries on the books. And the reason for that is there's a lot of reasons, but one of them is that I want the students to always volunteer to, contribute to whatever. It's not, when you're a teacher, you have a lot of power. So they're like, oh my God, I want to get the A, what do I have to do? That's not how it works, right? It's harder when you're doing a Wikibooks because the whole page is their work. Like it's theirs, as opposed to like when I do Wikipedia, I put together teams and they help each other, right? So it's like a very collaborative sort of thing. Whereas here, this is what I wrote for this class, and so I have to think about whether I want to give it up, because I explained to them. So one of the many good things about Wikibooks is we have to have a big conversation about copyright, ownership, all of those things. And I love that because, I'm a writing teacher, so I want them to understand that that is theirs to decide what to do with, right? I cannot just take it. And, nobody should, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so there's that. So there's only a portion of the students, sometimes 3 a semester, it varies, that actually say, yes, I want to do this. And it usually entails them doing it after the semester's over. So these students are amazing. They go like, sure, I will do all of this work. They get their grade, and then they actually Wikify, and they add the images and so on and so forth. So I think that that's a big important difference in the genre. I think that the more, I was thinking about the birds, but here, Afrofuturism, oh yeah. I mean, like, you can totally have parallel projects. You can contribute to Wikipedia, and then Wikibooks allows for you to take stuff from Wikipedia and actually use it in Wikibooks, because, So you could have a Birds of Brooklyn book on Wikibooks, totally, right? So you could have, like, some people doing that, and some people that are not so comfortable, say, working on Wikipedia, working on the Wikibooks, and so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. So like I said, it's more individual, which bothers me a little bit because I want the students to learn how to work collaboratively, but, with the pandemic, it's what it is. And again, it's only a few students that actually contribute because they have the time and et cetera, the willingness. As opposed to the whole class.
I have a question for Will. You talked about Wikidata and not about Wikipedia, and I wondered if you see any evidence that your work on Wikidata is stimulating authorship of more Wikipedia articles, and if when you do this work you're trying to put together a priority list, to kind of prioritize which parks are most worthy of Wikipedia articles. And one more question. Are you capturing georeferencing data, longitude and latitude? Thanks.
Yeah, I highly recommend you just go on Wikidata and enter the name of a local park, and you'll see how a park gets recorded. In terms of that question, it's a bit of like I might not be the most qualified to answer that, but I will, like, the projects are in dialogue, and actually it's a little hard to explain, but a number of the Wikidata items I would both create but also update, like, oh, this one has, you know, the wrong name, like slightly, it's not the so-and-so triangle, it's the so-and-so square. So I would change it, and some of those articles were actually created by a bot that was referencing a different language Wikipedia project. So those Wikidata items came from Wikipedia, a bot took them from Wikipedia, made the Wikidata item, and then now I'm adding to them, and hypothetically a person could take that information and put it back to a different Wikipedia language project.
I was going to ask about georeferencing and disambiguating, but it's been asked.
Ryan, you're obviously a avid birder, I think. I'm not, but I like birds. I saw, though, an episode on HBO Sports about the World Series of Birding that takes place every year in New Jersey. And I'm wondering your thoughts on making some feeder contests, say, in the city, 5 boroughs, et cetera.
By feeder, you mean procedural, not bird feeders, right? Okay, I just making sure. Well, yeah. So I'm only vaguely aware of that. So there's the people who like birds. Then there's the people like me who like get a little bit more serious and like want to see them all and take pictures of them. And then there's like the hardcore competitive birders, which is not a world that I'm really a part of. And so that's probably in Cape May, New Jersey, which is okay. So well, New Jersey.
But it seems like there could be some narrow.
It's
24-hour event. It seems like we could craft some shorter term, fewer hours.
It may be. I am hesitant to try to overlap the hardcore competitive birding with Wikipedia. Just I don't know. It's like a level. I would love it if someone did that, but it's more than I can take. Yeah, it's kind of hard. Like, you get into like more levels of data than actually looking at the animals and comparing lists and going out for 16 hours and waders and going through the mud and it's serious business. But it's a good tip. I will look at it and see if we can do something.
Presumably you wouldn't need waders
Thanks.
say in Manhattan or Bronx. If you do a different area,
Yeah.
I think local contests can lead up to the World Series.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, that's a question
Hey,
here,
hey,
Bob.
you have one?
In the front.
I'm sorry.
Do you need the mic, Bob?
You were saying that the Wikibooks, because it's structured less like it's structured more like a straightforward and like a beginning and end, that they can be printed and have physical copies, so that where Wikipedia can't be accessed as well, can get that information. Is there any sort of program or structure that actually like gets that done, or is that something that hasn't really been?
Well, all the wikis, I don't know if all the wikis, but at least Wikipedia, definitely Wikibooks, right? Wikipedia and Wikibooks, you can download them as PDFs and put them together. Like there's a program. On the left-hand side of Wikipedia,
I thought that was removed.
was that removed?
Yeah, like the books function on Wikipedia. Somebody out there might know better.
I think it's been killed.
Yeah, I think it's gone.
Oh, but you still can download them as PDFs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right, so any article on Wikipedia you can download as PDF, so you could, loosely put a book together of the articles.
You just print it as a PDF.
Right,
I meant like
Sorry.
that one that like a program that like gets Wikibooks or physical versions of Wikipedia to somewhere where that may be more helpful than or more easily accessed than Wikipedia.
I think maybe I've seen some examples of it. Just in general, I've seen some examples people using it for like physics or biology textbooks or something like textbooky more. But it's it's something that people have been playing with in different areas.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know how to answer your question very well.
I think. Oh.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, how has using wiki tools for your projects either like further developed like the reach that you could have with those projects, or like your ideas? Like, how is that process with working with
your computer still up there?
wiki tools impacted your projects?
You should. Yeah, I got it.
I'm just going to show you one thing, if I can, just to give you an idea. So I love Octavia Butler because you know why. So over the years, my students have been, this article that you see here with her biography, and please, if anybody knows how to get a better photo of her, please, I beg of you, right? Because it's the one thing that we haven't been able to change. This article was written by my students at LaGuardia, like the whole thing. And of course, as you know, whenever you look at an article, you can actually see the page views, right? So how many people look at this article? Wow. So right there you can see, and you can show that to the students that are working. You can say, look, I read your paper, I don't know, maybe your mom reads your paper, the tutor reads your paper. Here, you can actually make an impact, right? And a big one. Right, even if you just contribute 2 paragraphs, right? That already, along with everybody else, is making this accessible to an incredible amount of people. So yeah, so the page views, guys. If you ever are teaching, you want to show people what the impact is. Yes.
Oh, as another example from the archive section.
Sure.
Yeah. So some of the. There we go. So with the archives work that we've done with Dr. X and Anne, we were fortunate enough, I was fortunate enough to work with one of my students who's actually sitting in the back. We met with some members of the French government at an event, and we gave like a little lightning talk of our research, and he gave us his business card, and he was like, hey, let's work together sometime. So that's going on in the works. So that's one way, doing this kind of work can impact anything, really. Another thing is I've worked with 2 students from Virginia Tech. Right now, they're data scientists, so we're planning together of how to use the archive and Wikipedia's entries to use it as data entry points. So that's also in the works. So didn't mean to hijack, but just 2 ways from the archives perspective. Yeah.
Add one quick thing to that. Just to add one quick thing to that idea of increasing impact through a classroom project, there's actually a tool that classes can use called a dashboard, where you input all of your student names, and it keeps track of not just the articles that they're editing, but how many page views have been received by those articles, and how many words have been added to those articles. So you can actually quantify in real time how much difference your students are making. You can do that for edit-a-thons too. It's kind of open to any event with lots of people contributing.
Thank you, panel. I think we're going to move on to the lightning talks. Thank you so much.